So let's start with an overview of the nervous system. And this particular diagram is in your book, I think on page 99. It's by and large a pretty good diagram. There's a few places where I don't like it, and I'll tell you what they are. But you're not going to damage yourself any by using this. So starting at the very top, thinking of this as a hierarchy, we have the nervous system. The nervous system is going to have two major divisions: the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. Now, the way we're going to define those is the peripheral nervous system is going to encompass every neuron that is not encased inside of bony matter. So, and then the CNS, or the central nervous system, is comprised of all the nervous tissue that is within bony structures. So, if it's inside the brain or the spinal cord, it's central nervous system. If it's outside of the spinal cord or the brain, it's what? Peripheral. Can't get anything past you guys. We're going to spend much of our time thinking about the central nervous system, because that's where a lot of the really interesting things in terms of psychology occur. The CNS has two parts. You should be able to guess these already because we've just talked about them. The brain and the spinal cord. The brain and the spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system has two components, two branches, and those are the somatic and the autonomic. Somatic means body. Autonomic is going to be dealing with the viscera. So somatic, we're talking about things like skin, muscles, joints. Now, this is where I'm going to do a little bit different diagramming than your book does. It's not that your book's wrong. I just think this is a little clearer. The somatic branch, or the somatic division, has two parts. Afferent and efferent. Now, afferent means that the signals in this branch, in this part of the nervous system, are traveling up toward the brain. That's afferent. So from the periphery to the brain. The efferent signals are those that are starting in the brain and working outward. So this should already be cluing you in that there are nerves who send signals out and there are nerves that send signals in. Okay, now the autonomic nervous system is pretty cool, I think. And you get the same sort of thing. Again, I think I may be a little bit different here than your book, but it's kind of the same information. The autonomic nervous system are those neurons that are servicing the viscera. Your guts, your heart, your lung, plural, I hope. Hope everybody has two lungs. And they're going to be involved in mediating the fight or flight. What's the question?
I just don't know what that first word, area, is that what it says?
Parasympathetic. Sorry. That make it any easier? All right. And for our purposes, I'm not going to worry too much about these bottom two blocks. Your author, this is not my favorite diagram in the book. these are the major divisions and the way to think about them. Now, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic branches are what drives the fight and flight responses. You've all heard of that. I'm going to add a third F: flight, fright, and flight. So there's a third one there. We'll come back to that. And so that branch is getting you ready for battles, getting you ready to fight, to run, to engage something threatening. The parasympathetic branch is a counterpart to that, and it handles rest and digest functions. Can you open the door for her? So what you have are the parasympathetic and the sympathetic branches, and the way to think of these in kind of a shorthand is if you had a car, the sympathetic nervous system would be like stepping on the gas. It speeds everything up, moves you forward, gets you speeding up. The parasympathetic system are like slamming on the brakes. It stops you. And there's always a balance going on between these two branches. And so if you've ever been out on Atlanta Highway, you've seen this in action. People with their feet simultaneously on the brakes and on the gas. And it's just a competition to see which foot is down heavier that determines what's going to happen. Well, that's how your bodies operate. It's this ongoing balance. This is extremely important to understand because many of our problems today arise from this ongoing balance between the parasympathetic and sympathetic branches. One thing you need to understand is we have the same bodies, more or less, that our ancestors did at the dawn of civilization. So you go back 10,000 years ago, you're on the edge of the glacier, you're on the Serengeti, wherever your ancestors were at, they had the same nervous system that you did, that you do today. It operates exactly the same. When you go to Burger King and somebody just makes you madder than crap, your body responds in the same way that your ancestors did when threatened by the saber-toothed bunnies. Your body doesn't know that there's a difference. A threat is a threat is a threat, and your body responds to that. So if you think about how many times during the course of a normal day you have the opportunity to get pissed off in the world we live in, realize that's like a really bad day for a caveman, because that means like 12 times saber-toothed bunnies attacked. So we have a lot of disorders that we're going to deal with that are the consequences of Paleolithic tendencies in a modern body. Now, let's take and elaborate. We've hit on this a little bit, but we can certainly take time to get these in our notes. So the sympathetic branch, and this is confusing here. I just realized something I've done to you. And I'll fix this for the next batch. But realize that what we have going on here, I'm embarrassed that I did this. Realize that this goes with that, and that goes with that. So there's a crossing there that is confusing. If I were you, I would almost scribble out in the notes and get it to where they were balanced the same so you don't confuse yourself. But the sympathetic branch, once again, is the one that accelerates us, prepares us for action. It opens up our airways so that we get more oxygen. It opens up our pupils so that we get more light in. So this is where we're going to be different than the zombies. We're going to let more light in when we're in attack mode. It's going to take our heart rate up. It's going to take our blood pressure up. It's going to take blood from our guts and move it outward toward the muscles so that the muscles are going to get plenty of supplies. So that's the sympathetic branch. The parasympathetic branch, again, is going to be our rest and digest. It's going to slow us down. It's the brakes. So all the things that the sympathetic branch put into action, the parasympathetic branch is going to put us into a complementary state. A little aid to help remember this. It's helpful to some people, not to others. Parasympathetic, you can think of as like a parachute. Opens up, slows you down so you don't turn into a dirt dart if you're jumping out of an airplane. So para slows you down. So we have a couple of nice diagrams out of your book. Do yourself a favor, spend some time looking at these. This one lets you know the major things happening on. You can see what's happening with the eyes, the lungs, the heart, the viscera, and the blood vessels. And then the other diagram on this page is simply showing a picture of the central nervous system, brain, spinal cord. So here we have, in these two pictures, everything from above. Now, what are